Hi everybody, a postcard from the edge. Things have developed somewhat. I've talked to you before in an earlier video about making a note of interest on properties in Scotland. This is where you, if there's a property that you like, you tell the agent to formally register you as being interested in the property. You don't have to go and view the property. If you do that, you can if you wish. You don't have to make an offer on the property. You can if you wish. But by making a note of interest with the agent, what that means is they are then obligated to keep you informed about developments with that property. So if offers come in, if it goes to sealed bids and so on, so that if you do want to make an offer, if you do want to go and view, you are aware of it and you can react. If you don't make a note of interest, then you may just find that one day the property's been sold, bids have closed, you've missed out. So what I would say is it places no obligations on you, but if you think you've got any kind of interest in a property, it is worth making a note of interest. And all you'll do is get an email, a call, or a message from the agent as things progress with that property, and you can do with that information whatever you wish. So why am I telling you this again? Because something has just happened. A property that we have been interested in, very interested in, that I mentioned before actually, on one of the islands, and I made a note of interest in because it's probably, well, I think certainly it is the property we've been most interested in ever since the day it appeared on Zoopla, Rightmove, onthemarket.com. It's kind of been sort of number one really. And you may remember in the video where I talked about us being up on our scouting trip up to Scotland, where we went up for viewings. We had booked a viewing with the owners of the property on the island, and we had to cancel the viewing even though we were up in Scotland because we could get a ferry over to the island, the Calmac ferry, but there was absolutely no way, and I tried every possible way, I could not get a ferry off of the island. And we had a deadline for getting back down into England. Our dog was with the dog sitter, and the dog sitter could only keep the dog for so many days because she had other bookings, and she'd squeezed us in, and we only had 4 days to be in Scotland, and we had to come back because she had our dogs. And so we had that tight window, and there was nothing we could do. We were absolutely fixed to that, and we had no way around it. And no matter what convoluted routes I chose, because there are 2 or 3 ways off of the islands, even doing island hopping and things like that, I tried every possible combination of routes and so on, and there was no physical way possible to get back off the island and get back home in time. And we were really sad about it and frustrated, but we had to cancel, and we just had to accept that that's island life, and we had to accept it, and maybe we would lose out and so on, but that was it. And we knew that we weren't going to be able to get up to Scotland for a few more weeks because our dog sitter didn't have any vacancies. So that was it, we were stuck. So we got a message, an email, just minutes ago, really, an hour ago, from the agent, one of these triggered by the note of interest, telling me that the property had received a formal offer, and that the owners were it was an offer that the owners were interested in, and that likely, because there was also other people, they'd had several viewings, and they were expecting more bids, and so it was likely that the property would go to closing bids. Such was the interest. The closing bids date hadn't been set, but it was heading in that direction very quickly, and so they were letting me know. They were just keeping me informed. Now, this put us in a difficult position. This has put us in a difficult position because we can't go back because we've got the dogs. I mean, we could take the dogs back with us, but what this is a rapid trip back to Scotland, not long after just coming back from Scotland. But it's not really very fair on the dogs. You know, we're conscious that they basically would just be in the back of a car for about 1,200 miles, and it's not a lot of fun for them. You know, as human beings, we can put up with it, but they're basically stuck in the back of a car, and it's a 3-day trip that is pretty much 90% driving, just with very brief stops just to get out, you know, go to the loo, get back in the car, do another 200 miles, get out, go to the loo, get back in the car. And it's not very fair to the dogs. We're not prepared to do that anyway. Some people might be prepared to, but we're not prepared to. You know, our dogs need exercise, and, you know, we don't like to put them through that. And so, also we don't like putting them in kennels or anything. So our dog sitter has a farm, and, you know, it's a lovely place for them to stay. I don't know, maybe we pamper our dogs, I don't know, but that's how we feel about it. We take our ownership and care of the dogs very seriously. And so what do we do? Because we really like this property, and we're very keen on it. We are faced with the challenge that there's clearly a lot of competition for this property, and I think it's going to go for a lot over the asking price. We think we will have some headroom on the asking price. It's within our budget, and we can bid above. So okay, but I think it sounds like there are several people, and, you know, some people have a lot of resources. The other issue we have is our house actually is not on the market yet. So we're not cash buyers, and our property is a 4-bedroomed house. And so likely anybody buying our house, the chances of us getting our first time buyer are very, very slim to almost zero, I would imagine. So we're likely to be in a chain. And so, you know, we're not going to be like probably the perfect buyer. So going up, you know, we're talking about a 1,200 mile round trip. The costs involved in that, it's pretty much a 3-day journey, because you've got to get up there. There's ferries involved. It's a day to get there. By the time you got over onto the island, it's too late to view the property that day. You know, you're talking about 12 hours probably to get onto the island. Then you're there for the day where you do the viewing, but by the time you've done the viewing, it's too late to get off the island. The ferries don't coordinate. So then you've got another night. So that's 2 nights accommodation. Then you've got another ferry journey back to the mainland. It's a 12-hour journey back. So you're talking 3 days to do an hour to 2-hour viewing. It's a big commitment financially. It's 3 days of your life to go and see one property. Plus the fact that because of the dogs, what do we do? And so what we have decided to do is I'm going to go, which is a huge responsibility. Elizabeth is going to stay with Eddie. I keep saying dogs. Obviously, we've only got Eddie now. I still haven't quite got used to not having Lily. Elizabeth's going to stay with Eddie, look after him, and I'm going to go and view. Now that to me is a huge responsibility, because I've got to go and look at a property that we might end up bidding on, and Elizabeth won't have seen it. She'll have only seen it on the internet, and that's a really big responsibility, but it's the only way we can see to do this. So that's what we've decided. So literally, the ferry's booked and I'm off. the next few days are going to be very busy. I've got a lot of miles to put in, but I will feed back to you and let you know how it goes. But this is a property we really love. We have loved it since we've seen it, and we've got a feeling about it. It's a bit nerve-wracking when you get a really strong feeling about a property. You perhaps can relate to this if it's happened to you, that you don't want to fall in love with the property, because especially if you think there's a strong chance you're not going to get it, because you don't want the disappointment. But he who dares wins. I suppose you just got to go for it and see what happens. So that's the situation. I will report back. I will send you postcards, perhaps postcards from the journey if I get time, but there's an awful lot of driving to do, so I don't know how much time I'll get to send postcards from the trip. But we'll just let you know how it goes. And this is all part of buying a property in Scotland. That's the whole idea of starting this series of videos, is to kind of give you a feel of the buying process, which is what I haven't been able to find on YouTube. All the videos seem to be of people who've already done this, and they've got their dream home, and now they're doing the lovely bit, which is actually working on the property and getting it how they want it. And you get to see the lovely lifestyle, the kind of the thing we want. We want what they've got, really, and that's what we're hoping to achieve. But I think it may be helpful to you to kind of go through the highs and the lows and the learning process of what it's like to move from England to Scotland, and what it's like to buy a property in Scotland, and maybe some of that learning process. So here we are. This is all part of it. This might just be a wild goose chase. I don't know. We shall see. So I'll report back later.